So let's try to evaluate what's going on over the past several days over the beginning of February. And this was possibly the most mind boggling, ground shattering trade deadline. Now, I feel like the momentum of the NBA has been somewhat stale when it comes to acquisitions leaving, franchises trying to make overly ambitious deals. Luka Doncic got traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis and some rotational support, and it took 4 first-round picks that we gave away for Mikal Bridges around last season, just to try to get a rotational piece to push us over the hump for at least a conference finals appearance, let alone be a contender against the Boston Celtics. Yet, we don't even know how this is going to benefit some of the franchises heading into the season. Not only that, the long-awaited Jimmy Butler move to the Miami Heat went in short notice with $48 million with a 2-year max deal heading to the Golden State Warriors for a possible win-now move. Dennis Schroeder heads to Detroit after, I think it was like a refixture, because he's supposed to go to Utah, but Josh Richardson, he might be bought out over his contract. He's a veteran guard that possibly could still play over in a winning franchise. He also has some controversies that he had over the league over slavery, being this is a modern slavery league. Jesus Christ. With Josh Richardson and Kenyon Martin Jr. Going to the Utah Jazz with 2 second-round picks and cash, with PJ Tucker heading back over to Toronto till 2026. Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson. I feel like the best benefactor here, shockingly enough, is the Miami Heat. I mean, you're losing a guy that got you in the 2 NBA Finals, but couldn't push you over the hump of a bunch of borderline above-average rotation pieces with lack of ambition to at least make a consistent run. Now you get a guy that looks like he wanted out of the team for the last several seasons, could possibly push you to a second-round competitive deep run with a bit more depth, especially in the guard position. So now you got Kyle Anderson, that's always a great second option. Duncan Robinson, I feel like they needed to rotate out their 2-guard position. Wiggins is was a somewhat of a valuable win in a wing, but it's a workaround with a more younger squad where it feels like you can actually get an actual coach that actually knows how to system an offense with a developing squad. Miami, I feel like needs further moves, but I feel like they've actually benefited off this trade. Toronto, I feel like they're going to buy out his contract, and PJ really can't do much with this young squad. And we don't know what's going to happen over with Utah. And this is Kenyon Martin Jr. that was a Sixer for like quite a while. Then he went over for 2 late round picks, 2 second round picks. So he got moved around more times than Quentin Grimes. And it took him 4 squads in just 2 seasons. Marcus Smart and Alex Len are Wizards. With Chris Middleton after he got traded for a first for Kyle Kuzma. Now, the upside is they got younger. Kyle Kuzma's in this prime age. That was a high volume score, but knowing what he can produce over on the other side of the floor, producing in a more energetic offense, and now you got a volume scorer that could possibly attack around the post, get more inside scoring out, knowing Kuzma's size, and try to put more down the stretch games without risking injury could play a factor here. I don't know how deep Milwaukee Bucks can do. They got even more threatening. Kevin Porter Jr. is a criminal after getting rid of Marjon Beauchamp that wasn't getting any minutes. But you get a proven inside scorer that's also trusted long range. Kevin Porter Jr. has massive upside offensively. Hopefully his outside concerns could be less of a conversation piece. We know that James Wiseman got traded again to the Toronto Raptors. God, no man's land, some of these franchises. We don't even know what was going to happen. I feel like the most high-risk maneuver of a trade was DeAndre Hunter for Karis LeVert and Georgios Niang for 2 firsts that were swapped over with Utah and 3 second round picks. And don't get me wrong. I love this trade because you give off late, weak contracts for a pivotal wing defender. That's an exceptional spot up and a high pace spaced out offense, like the Cavaliers that are in a hot run. So you pick up a pivotal offense that you can move around the books with. Okoro has been questionable around the wing position, that he's not that versatile enough, and you push over like two evolving like big people at the front court, like Evan Mobley and Jarrett Jack, and you move a bit more of a danger off the catch and shoot. With already Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland being outstanding, and now you got Max Strus. Sam Merrill has shown to be a great use. Great second option guard out of Ty Jerome that's showing some upside. So I love everything that the Cavaliers are doing. How they could possibly push for a conference finals appearance. Still up to them. They're having a great season, 41-10. No one can complain before the All-Star weekend. But I was expecting a bit more off the Phoenix Suns, thinking that they would get rid of 3 of their big 3, fake big 3, as per se to Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, or hell, if they could get rid of Devin Booker. Because all I see, probably I think in this NBA, we get proven like high volume scorers are a pivotal part of a team, that they are. But usually they're just complementary pieces. Like Kevin Durant, you would say, for when he was over in Golden State, he was a complementary, high volume wing that can create his own shot, be a spot up over in the catch and shoot, just work around the offense, just make it more dangerous, more than like being the high volume piece of an offense. Because I tried to work in Brooklyn, and that worked over in OKC. And yes, he can get you over the hump of being in a contending conversation, but not when it's over and done with. KD's your guy. And sadly, it didn't work over in Phoenix. The only thing they did was just scrap up Yusuf Nurkic overrated contract of $18 million with a first round pick for Cody Martin and Velije Micic. So the only upside in that is that you pick up a bit of depth around the wings, and they're still questionable around the center position, and at least they get a benefit over for first round picks, knowing the lack of upside in draft stock. And the Suns are in the sub 500 department, so usually rotational benefits would be more up for conversation for the Suns if they want to like make this one more time. Because last time I checked, Bradley Beal's barely a starter in this rotation. They try to transition Devin Booker at the 1 when he's a natural high volume 2. Tyler Ulis is still shown to be an exceptional starting guard. I feel like that was one of the best moves they made around the offseason in universal agreement. So the only upside is if Nick Richards can compensate. And this was an early done trade around the middle of the season when they weren't already confident. So now you have Mason Plumlee. And knowing that they could probably scratch a 42-win season, 43-win season around competitive the Western Conference now got with Luka Doncic now joining the 5th-seeded Lakers. This is going to be a bit more. I don't know if parity thanks Jimmy Butler's here. We don't know what we can question the Warriors to be with a more older piece at the helm. How that's going to alternate with Jonathan Kuminga. Or how the Warriors are going to play over this high-tempo offense. With Golden State possibly have to changing it up, and all they can focus on is what's going to go on with the personality, because this happens all the time when Jimmy Butler comes over to town, having the mentality of him being like a 3-time NBA champion when he's only made 2 NBA championship appearances. It's crazy. Don't get me wrong. You need that type of X factor of a guy that you don't like but you respect. But if this controversy is going to hit more when time goes on and Jimmy Butler doesn't do anything with Warriors, because you've got like 2 seasons of making this work, at least 2.5 seasons max, dependent if Jimmy Butler just makes Steve Kerr go crazy, because we don't know what's going to be the end of the Steph Curry era, and they're just pushing over what could possibly just be a last dance of competitiveness Golden State can do before they're back to the stands of mediocrity like they were back in the 2000s to the early 2010s of just being in the Western Conference. Because, like, who they have at the 5 to play? Like, Quentin Post, Trey Jackson Davis with Kevon Looney, that I feel like they could still spread small ball and move Jimmy Butler to the wing or start Gary Payton Jr. at the wing with Butler at the 4. Like, it's small ball, high volume offense with, like, inconsistency with their use. I think people wanted Brandon Podjanowski to leave when I heard from some Warriors fans. But they're not in a terrible standing. Other than their great start when Buddy Hield was shooting well. We don't know how that's going to work out for the Warriors. But I'm sure we expect a lot more. I was expecting more off the Nets. Because Cameron Johnson still has a still starting position when he could use, like, you know how many first round benefits you can get off this? The only upside they had over this entire February, Ben Simmons is nowhere around the lineup. So Beekman, Keon Johnson, I think they were starting him at the 5, so Daron Sharp and Noah Clowney can get some minutes. Because the upside of a 17-34 season, you got nothing to lose. And any win would feel like at least some progress, knowing that you got D'Lo was like the only experienced high-volume guard actually trying to produce. He's a good enough starting guard, but I think his chances of still trying to compete for a playoff team is over at this point at the age of 29. And it sucks too. I was one of those D'Lo fans over when his first stint in Brooklyn came, and I felt like the Lakers slept on him. He could be a star anywhere else. Come to the Knicks, and then we got D Rose. And then I completely forgot. Another team that I feel like really fell off of doing some business was the Portland Trailblazers. Like, why is DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant still out? Like, the guy that was supposed to be traded almost every year was Jeremy Grant. I think Robert Williams as well was supposed to be in conversations to be traded, and yet are still here. Out of V, I don't know what's going to be the conversation for the Portland Trailblazers. If they want to see what they can develop before rookie contracts are out for Scoot Henderson, because he seems to be having a good season. Tomori Kamara and Anthony Simons seem to be decent starters. I think the only upside we've seen this entire season was Adavia actually being the better white person on the Wizards than Corey Kispert. So that's as funny as you're going to get. Reggie Jackson for 4 second-round picks. I'm shocked he was worth 1 for Jared Butler for the Sixers. They get a bit younger in their rotation. Anything else would be an improvement here. Mark Williams, starting center from the Charlotte Hornets, goes for Dalton Knecht and Cam Reddish. Well, they were trying to ship off Cam Reddish for years. Lakers fans have been complaining about his inconsistencies to even get rotation spots fit. Dalton Knecht's the only upside, because you get a young, exciting wing shooter that can fit over in this Hornets side to probably build up from the ground up post Luka Doncic trade and see what would be done to help the Charlotte Hornets at least try to salvage a season with LaMelo Ball. I think he's out. No, he's back. He's returned from injury. So it's going to be Dalton Knecht, Josh Green, Miles Bridges, Musa Diabate with Yusuf Nurkic that could possibly play. The saddest thing on paper, this would be a decent 40-win team if they weren't terrible the entire year. And LaMelo Ball doesn't take like 6 months until he returns from injury. So, don't even know what's going to be the upside here. Because it feels like anytime you hear upside on LaMelo Ball's returning from recovery, their young rotations coming from off-court troubles, and they just can't salvage a good season with how weak the conference is, and they can't get over the hump. I would just say he should have went to the Lakers over Luka Doncic. Brandon Ingram finally shipped off the New Orleans Pelicans shithole. Shocking it wasn't Zion Williamson, but Zion Williamson's a bust, so at least Brandon Ingram could serve as some headlines because he actually played more basketball than Zion Williamson. For Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown, you were an NBA champion. You're a Pelican now. I really hope your life decisions weren't in guard. 23 million goes over 37 million with Kelly Olynyk in a first and the second round pick. So going into the Toronto Raptors that have a lot of youthful players, Scotty Barnes shown to be an exceptional, but not really, I would consider, a top guy to depend upon in a rotation with like the best upside we've seen being RJ Barrett. Ingram is a great enough wing, and you can ship over RJ that can get the ball more to his hands. He got like Emmanuel quickly, and Jakob Poeltl, I feel like was a slept-on commodity for a starting center position in any other team. The way he could play with how terrible the Toronto Raptors have been. They have good rotational pieces if they were on another places. I thought Chris Boucher, he was targeted for a trade for the Denver Nuggets, but I guess that didn't go through. While the New Orleans Pelicans were just another steaming pit that the people over in Vegas, instead of going for the Mavericks and screwing them out over their franchise guy, could have shipped over and relocated the New Orleans Pelicans to Las Vegas. Because to be fair, they had nothing over in New Orleans. Their small market doesn't seem to be ambitious enough to try to move over and try to give Zion Williamson the boot, because his trade value has stocked up to like GameStop levels. Undisciplined forward that obviously is not ambitious enough to keep himself healthy in a consistent level, always in controversy. No rotational peak. I think they've only made like 2-3 playoff appearances over the past 7 years since Zion's joined the team, and he's never appeared in one. And yet, like, all you have to show for it is Trey Murphy with a 12-39 record. So completely out of the blue, they need to A.J. Brown, Zion Williamson come the draft and try to see if they can salvage around at least an opportunity to get a young talent out of this year's draft, because this has been past like rookie contract, and you press them over in the max, and all we get is controversy. Pelicans fans gotta like know when it's time to like stop. These small market fans deserve a lot better than certain franchises like want to denounce credit for them because they don't give them enough money, because they don't really try. Giannis Valanciunas to the Sacramento Kings. They already traded a 3-way for 3 firsts, and Chicago got worse, and now you pick up DeMar DeRozan for a 40-win team. Sacramento Kings didn't really improve after trading away De'Aaron Fox to the San Antonio Spurs. Like, when are you guys going to get it? When you didn't need to get Zach LaVine. Malik Monk is not a starting caliber guard in the NBA. Keegan Murray is not going to approve a simple lick, and Domantas Sabonis is there. As great as he is, he needs a complementary piece. You just got a bunch of empty calorie, highly productive bots that can't produce a lick of playoff basketball through the first play-in game. This is an embarrassment. Kings fans came from one playoff appearance to just absolute no man's land, to firing their coach. It just makes zero sense. All they do is leverage over a 3-way to just get fleeced out of their all-star guard, and they couldn't even pick up a young prospect from the Spurs. Like, you couldn't even fleece Booz or at least get a better center, because Domantas Sabonis is a starting power forward, not a center. And Chicago could have shipped over anybody else than just getting Trey Jones and Kevin Porter Jr. that left his shooting in Atlanta in that one playoff appearance with the Kings. And Zach Collins is mid-easy. He's been in the NBA for way too long to be this trash. That's very sad. That's very depressing to know how mid he is as a player. And now we got 2029 pick swaps. Still couldn't get a young talent somehow from the Thunder. Still keep all their young commodities, while Quentin Grimes is already swapped to like 2 different teams in under a calendar year after thinking, oh, he's picking up upside. And then you forget why he's trash. He tried it over on the Pistons. He tried it over in Dallas, and now he's going to stink up the joint over in Philly. The circle of life is just depressing over in Philly. When you think you finally got something going, when you think you got the franchise guy, when he wins an individual award, and that means it translates to championship success. That's depressing. Jaden Springer also goes to the Houston Rockets because it's the only time that the coach actually trusts young talent. Daniel Tice, an undersized center, goes from the Pelicans to the Thunder, where he's probably not going to play that much to begin with. But Chet Holmgren will be over a late deadline to get a decent enough starting five to at least spread over in the floor in garbage time. It's crazy. Orlando Magic, I'm shocked. Because I know injuries hit them very hard this year. The Orlando Magic. They lost Jalen Suggs out with a quad injury. With a quadricep, he'll possibly return against the Spurs. Martins Wagner is out coming the remainder of the season off an off a torn ACL. So we won't even see him, and two-time dunk champion is out of Mac McClung. They could have salvaged up some depth, especially in the rebounding department. I feel like they came from like the highlight of the season of being 3 games below 500. And it's sad because we can fault that over to like great coaching, salvaging like their poor like rotation pieces that compensate with injuries, because they have undersized guard depth when it comes to like raw talent like Anthony Black. Now you got no real backup guard to deal with the pressures. Gary Harris's contract should have left Orlando with Cole Anthony, that probably wanted to be a starting guard somewhere else. And now you got Banchero and Franz Wagner scavenging. They need an actual floor general. Guga Bitadze has been great upside. Jonathan Isaac, I feel like would be better off to ship over for better high volume commodities. Especially when Kobe White from the Chicago Bulls was a big conversation piece to probably go to the Orlando Magic. It could have been Lonzo Ball as well, because there's so many guards over in Chicago. So I'm shocked that no other franchises, like there should be a lot more franchises moving the needle, like baseball style, trying to make every piece count and feel like they're missing or making. Because right now, the Detroit Pistons have just done a lot more with a lot less. With the way Cade Cunningham is having an all-star year, Dennis Schroeder is now a great backup commodity with Marcus Sasser, so we can teach the young guards how to move over the ball better and and try to protest along the way about the NBA. With Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, Asar Thompson, there's a lot of decent mix of veteran and young pieces to show out and try to move out in the ball. With that lack of aggression, I like Isaiah Stewart for that. And for like NFL street, like beating up every official to go to LeBron James. And still like, this is only like already above like a 7th of this, with Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills going to the Clippers for PJ Tucker and Mohamed Bamba. Like, how many times are we going to hear about Mohamed Bamba in trade talks when it shows that he hasn't been a valued commodity? And this is after Josh Okogie went there because he's an iffy 2 guard. So right now, like, certain franchises, Utah Jazz are just a shipping tool to get less costs. And the Utah Jazz don't get anywhere with it. Lauri Markkanen hasn't been shipped. Walker Kessler, that's shown to be a great defensive end player over on the defensive side of the ball, could have went to a better competitive franchise to try to get an ambitious pick. Many teams could have used him, and yet wasn't part of the conversation somehow. I can understand Orlando wanted to try to keep their pieces of momentum in play because they're still in playoff contention. But Phoenix Suns could have got him. Los Angeles Lakers could have swapped over for that when it came to their firsts. Instead of getting Giannis Valanciunas, you could have got Walker Kessler. So it's just questionable what some of these franchises were doing, especially the Golden State Warriors. They could have got Walker Kessler over Jimmy Butler. He could have, including Jimmy Butler. And this involved a 4-way trade. So Middleton, A.J. Johnson, with Cody Zeller, with Matthias Lazort, Patrick Baldwin. Instead of the Wizards, he goes down to the San Antonio Spurs. We get Delon Wright that actually had some decent minutes when he was over in Miami. With Hugo Boss and some garbage pieces that I guess the coach won't play. Tibbs will not play him. Jericho Sims is finally shipped out. Jericho Sims is gone. My hell is ruined. Now I understand. Before like you guys call me a hater in the comment section, let me tell you something. Jericho Sims is possibly one of the weakest centers I've ever seen in my life. When it comes to rebounding play, when it comes to trying to attack over the rim, he's just raw athleticism. And the worst part is, like, there's no nurturing system in Tibbs, so he's either going to see it, find you trash, and you're going to be garbage time. That's the type of expectations over a competitive, heavily disciplined, and he'll dependently put over his starters over 30-plus minutes over in a game, whether they're injured or not. So, you can understand Jericho Sims. I feel like this is the best move for him, knowing he'll get probably rotational minutes, especially how much the Milwaukee Bucks really probably would depend on youth in the Bucks rotation, knowing that they kept Brook Lopez, and you get some legs over on the boards to lob with great 3-point pieces that I feel like Gary Trent Jr. I think picked up some good upside in the latter half around like December to pick up his shooting splits. And now you get a good, reliable volume wing long range, while Giannis can do his thing attacking around the rim with Taurean Prince, AJ Green, and now you got Kevin Porter Jr. Got more offensive versatility with keeping some grizzled defensive threats like Bobby Portis and a great shot blocker. So I feel like there's a lot more combinations on the rotation that the coach can deal with, and the Bucks are in a good spot since their bad start. Like where they were 2-10 and now they're 5 games above 500 with an NBA Cup. We gotta treat that like a Soccer Carabao Cup. While the Hawks' last move around yesterday was Alpha Kiba for a second round pick for Cody Zeller to the Houston Rockets. And that's going to be like the last vocal point of front office news other than Ben Simmons getting waived by the Brooklyn Nets because he's trash. Absolute garbage. What happened was a fleece job and nobody won at the end, involving having trade for James Harden for neither team to get better and then just ship him off later. But how you guys felt about this trade deadline? You think this helped a bunch of franchises? You think it really shifted? I felt like what happened was a complete game changer, and most I feel like this was a situational game changing trade, depending on the circumstances, was inertly changing the NBA. Just to have what happened with Nico Harrison that specifically only talked to the Lakers, there was something more inside of play, but I don't want to push over the suspicions to superstition. You guys tell me what happened over in the comment section below. That's it from the DST show. I hope you guys have a great weekend and have a great Super Bowl Sunday.